Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your 2022 Oakland mayoral candidate. Well, this is a special news flash for Zinni 62 Media, and we have State of California Marshal's office down the street at another illegal grow house, and it's been confirmed that it is the Marshal's office from the state of California. They also brought with them California Department Fish and Game. And you're probably wondering, well, why would Fish and Game be down there looking at a grow house? Well, that's because all the storm drains, all the floor drains, drain to the bay. And so what has happened, EB Mud, in cooperation with a lot of the agencies here in Oakland, have placed monitors in all the effluent sewer lines from businesses that they suspect are illegal grow houses. Also, what's been happening quietly all over here in East Oakland, we've had an air quality management district vehicle driving through here, taking air samples all over East Oakland. And the significance of that is it's sniffing for these diesel generators that are operating, because down the street you can hear these diesel generators, just like the one that was here behind me in this grow house. We had 6 big commercial generators and a total of 10 generators here running 24/7 and burning 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel every day. And those emissions went into our air. We breathe that. And the Bay Area Air Quality Management District requires a permit, an operating permit, to be issued for the operation of any generator. So hospitals have a license and a permit for operation in the event that it needs to be run. Because I tell you what, I've pulled these permits for businesses on an emergency basis, and it is a lot of work and it is a lot of money. And then there's a lot of inspections before you can even start these up. None of these are legal. We know that because there wasn't a fire marshal out here. There's not a permit. Also, Oakland police weren't in on the installation of them. And up the street, like I say, California Marshal's office served the search warrant on there. And how I knew it was them, if you didn't know about the California Marshal's office, they are the step just before the federal government comes in. The DEA, ATF would be the next agency that would be involved in what's going on down the street. And also right here in East Oakland. East Oakland has become the new Emerald Triangle, which, if a lot of you, if you know cannabis, the Emerald Triangle is Humboldt County up north. That's where a majority of California weed is grown and is grown outdoors. But here, right in this area, last week we had Zinni talk about the cannery, 5733, just down the street from here, and the issues they're having with good folks being evicted and they're being replaced by cannabis growers in those live-work spaces. That's what we have down the street. Well, it's not a live-work space, it's just a whole lot of warehouses, and they were occupied after a lot of businesses went out of business during COVID. And so they signed leases, and now what we're having, Fish and Game, is the effluent monitors monitor the chemicals that are coming out of those locations. And so Fish and Game has all the evidence there, and they're comparing it to the chemicals that are being used in that grow house to fertilize those plants and to create what they're creating. And so it leaves a fingerprint. It definitely leaves a fingerprint. And so these are things that are being done. We have California now getting involved because City of Oakland is not doing their job, even though they have a Cannabis Regulation Unit. And the person in charge of that unit is John Romano. But yet, we see a lot of problems here. And just in the area that I am here, right behind me was one of the largest grow houses. I want you to see this. Fire Marshal just leaving here because this is being dismantled right now. They just hauled out all of the generators this week and last week. They had to bring in a petroleum company to remove nearly 8,000 gallons of diesel fuel from just here alone. And so what's going on down the street is pretty much the same operation. What we're finding, or what they're finding, it is pretty much the same group that is doing a lot of the grows. And so they're from overseas. So as soon as things go south, they can hop on a plane, they're out of here, and they avoid prosecution. And then they leave a paper trail, which are a bunch of false names behind. And so there's a lot of issues with trying to apprehend the actual players behind everything. But right here, just in this area, this was one of the biggest grow houses. Actually, just right down the street, our neighbor leased out some space to another cannabis grow house, and they now have round-the-clock security at the front gate. So we're disappointed at seeing that happen. But we know times are tough for a lot of businesses, and they're trying to cut their costs too. But it could end up coming back and biting them in the butt. So Oakland hasn't dealt with all of the illegal cannabis grow, and then what that does, that's been leading to a lot of robberies and burglaries all over the Oakland, holdups here in Oakland. And in fact, I've been working with several of the law enforcement agencies. We know who some of the characters are, and when we spot them, you know, I call in to the agency who last contacted me to let them know when a certain person is in the area. And so, you know, they send their officers out looking for this person. So anyway, I'm tough on crime. I hate to see what these illegal operations are doing to our city. You know, they're harming our community by polluting our waters, polluting our air, giving the community no benefit whatsoever, because these operations are only for their benefit. So they don't share anything, they don't pay any taxes, they don't pay anything. But yet the community at large ends up breathing the emissions from their generators. Our waters are polluted, and our grounds are polluted from all of the chemicals that they use to grow and fertilize and cultivate cannabis. None of the cannabis that's sold is sold locally, and they sell it out of California, where it gets more money than if they were to sell it locally. Because locally, a pound of cannabis now is down to about $800 for a pound. So not very valuable here in California as compared to states across the United States, you know, especially in the South and Southeast and the East Coast, where a lot of this stuff ends up. And that's where the highest prices are paid. But state of California is stepping in. So growers beware. We're setting up cameras. We're going to catch you. We have law enforcement all over. We're monitoring your effluent, your sewer lines for all the toxic chemicals that are causing algae blooms all over our bay and waterways. That was Roots Community Healthcare bus that just rolled by here. So they come to the community every so often. You can see them right back there. That's their mobile unit. Come down to work with us, and those that have some health challenges. But anyway, thanks for joining me today. We're actually looking at getting rid of a lot of the illegal growers here in East Oakland, and also dealing with the high amounts of murders, gun violence, crime, and robberies, carjackings, car thieves. We're starting to deal with this, and it's not Oakland. It's not Oakland that's doing this. These are other agencies, because there's enough complaints from the residents, and we're having to step in. I'm tough on crime. I hope you vote for me when the Oakland mayor's election comes about in November 8th. I plan on restoring Oakland back to its former greatness, lowering crime, creating new jobs, living wage jobs, not these minimum wage jobs that you constantly are hearing Oakland officials and other businesses are talking about. I'm talking about real living wage jobs, real affordable housing, not housing like at Brooklyn Basin. When I last checked, for 400 square foot studio, it was $4,300. I don't know anybody in Oakland that can afford $4,300 for a 400 square foot studio. That's not much bigger than my place back there. I've got 300 square feet. Yeah, it doesn't look like much, but it has all the same trappings, has a kitchen, I can cook, I have a refrigerator. One of the things that I have that Brooklyn Basin doesn't, I have solar electricity, so I don't have to pay for my electricity. That's one of the things that I have to consider in my move out, because I have an offer with an apartment, but I have to figure out if I can afford that, given my Social Security starts paying me at the top of April 1st, which is next Friday. I received my first Social Security check, and I have no clue as to what it is. It is anywhere from $1,400 and as high as just short of $2,000. I've got paperwork that gives me 3 different numbers. I don't know which one it's going to be, because none of them were that specific. But kind of thinking that it's most likely going to be the lowest number, which is $1,438. And if it's $1,438, I have to go back and reassess if I can afford to pay electricity for and the apartment that I'm planning on going to, plus all the other expenses. I have renter's insurance, then I have to pay for a Wi-Fi, so that I have Wi-Fi for TV and entertainment, computer access. So there's a lot of other expenses that go on that a lot of people don't talk about. And when you're coming off the street, these are the same things, elements and components that have to be dealt with when you move in. You have a form of it out on the street, just like myself. But anyway, getting off the subject. Thanks for joining me today. East Oakland is changing. We have law enforcement. We have vanilla law enforcement, because the state marshal's office doesn't put markings on their vehicles. all of a sudden reds and blues show up in the windshield and the grill of the vehicles and on the little signal lights. So that's what's different. And there's no markings, no indication that it's law enforcement unless you see the driver and the passenger in the vehicle. Otherwise, it looks like a ordinary, everyday vehicle. And then the vans that they use were the tall vans, and so we had the officers, the armed officers that breached the grow house with the search warrant. That they looked like Alameda County sheriffs, fully decked out with firearms and everything when they served that search warrant. But thank you for joining me today. We'll be right back.